Greetings, Ifa Orisha devotees. How are you? I hope you're well as you're listening to this. So, today I will be discussing the Ifa reading of the year and the power of Ori. So, I'll be giving a brief synopsis of what we can find in the reading of the year, but I really want to focus on how important Ori is going to be as we move through these coming months, okay? For those of you who don't know me, I received my Oya initiation back in 2015 in Ejibo, Nigeria. My Yoruba name is Oyabumi Oyabemi. So I am an Omo Oya and an initiated priestess of Oya. Okay? So on Sunday, June 8th, in Ile Ife, Nigeria, devotees, priests, and priestesses of Ifa Orisha gathered, and the signature of the year was pulled. And that signature was, drum roll please, Oturopon Meiji, aka Ologbon Meiji. Ologbon is the alias, right? That's the term that they use instead of the signature name because this signature comes with illness and infectious disease. So in order to avoid calling that energy, they use the alias, okay? The Odu came with Ire Aiku, which means good fortune of longevity, so of long life, right? And that's what you want to see. Anytime you get an Ifa reading, honey, the hope is that you're going to get some Ire, which is good fortune. So what I loved about this Ifa of the year is that as soon as you open it up, right, and you go to read the different verses, what you see is information about how important it is to appease and work with Ori. And for those of you who know me and have followed me for a while, you know that I created a workshop called Ori, the Most Important Deity, years ago, right? Because I know how important it is to work with this energy. And we'll get into what Ori is and how you can work with Ori and all of that. I do suggest that you hang around to the end of the video because I will be providing a recipe for a head wash and leg wash you can use to support your Ori throughout the year, okay? Before we go any further, if you're interested in Ifa readings, Ifa Orisha on-demand workshops and ebooks, even my Orisha merch like Orisha t-shirts, my Odu Ifa Wisdom Oracle deck, which is great for intuitive readings and daily meditations, all of that, you can find the links down in the description box or in the comments. Also, I'll have a link in the description and the comments to the full Ifa reading of the year, which is hosted on my website, okay? Okay, so quickly, let's just talk about what some of the themes are of Ologbon Meiji, right? So I already said Ologbon comes with illness, infectious disease, and can point to someone having weak immunity. The signature talks a lot about Ori and one's legs working in tandem to take them to Ire, right? To take them to good fortune. And we'll get into more detail about that later. Orisha Oshun also speaks in this Odu, and it brings much good fortune. So this is an Odu that brings a lot of Ire. When this signature comes down, it usually speaks of people who are very determined, persevering, enduring, or the need to be. But it also speaks of the need to overcome stubbornness and arrogance, right? And how humility is protection against the negative forces that can sometimes be invited in by stubborn attitudes and arrogance. Now, what was interesting, y'all, with my clear audience, I heard the word clean. So I guess that's in reference to the infectious disease energy that comes up, right? There's a need to be clean and to focus on cleanliness, keeping your space clean, washing your hands and things like that. And I also heard the word etiquette. So there's something about polite behavior and following social norms that can be helpful. And I guess that's connected to the need for humility and avoiding stubbornness and arrogance, okay? So those are just some of the words that I heard from my guides in reference to this. Also want to warn against issues with the legs and the feet and things like that, okay, when the signature comes down. All right, so now let's talk about Ori. For those of you that are new to Ifa Orisha and you're like, what is Ori? Ori is your oversoul, your higher consciousness, but it also represents your own personal deity that comes with you from heaven to earth to oversee your experience here on the planet, okay? Ori is also a term that represents your physical head, right? Your head. So when people pray to their Ori, they typically hold their head, right? So Ori represents your head and it represents your higher consciousness, your highest consciousness, your heavenly double. Now, the thing about Ori and why it's so important, y'all, is that nothing can budge, nothing can move, nothing can work, nothing can move forward if your Ori is not on board. Okay, so your Ori actually sanctions blessings and your misfortunes. You cannot be blessed without the help of your Ori, without the acceptance of those blessings by your Ori, but you also can't be cursed unless your Ori is on board. So that's why I named my workshop, my Ori workshop, Ori, the most important deity, which can be found on my website. It's because Ori, being that it can sanction whether or not you have a good or a bad life, that means it's the most important deity in your life. And a lot of people don't recognize that when they come into this tradition and they end up focusing on Ifa, Orisha, Egbe, which is their astral mates or even their ancestors, and then sometimes get really fed up when things aren't moving. So the first point in the Ifa reading of the year, and like I said, this is available on my website if you want to follow along, is appeasement of Ori and Ifa is very important for devotees this year. Ifa says people should call upon their Ori for blessings and call upon Ifa to help appeal to their Ori. It is necessary to note that while Ifa can appeal to Ori, receiving blessings depends on one's Ori, right? Ifa says people who are appeasing their Ori regularly will receive multiple blessings, okay? And then part of the verse here says, if one is blessed with 2 fortunes in a day, people will say he has a good Ifa. It isn't Ifa, it is Ori that does that. It is Ori that brings those 2 fortunes in, right? That brings in those blessings. The reason why I wanted to focus on Ori, y'all, in my discussion of the Ifa of the year is because I've had multiple people come to me and share with me their frustrations about the lack of movement and success they've seen as devotees, priests, and priestesses. Like, I've seen people just give up and walk away from the tradition because nothing has changed, right? There's been very little success or movement. And I actually had an experience like that too, where I was like doing all of this stuff and I'm like, wait, nothing's really changing. Something's wrong here. So I stopped and I went within myself and really started focusing on Ori work because I noticed the other stuff wasn't budging, right? And that's why I wanted to focus on Ori and the importance of Ori. So the first point that comes up that talks about prosperity is saying that in order to have prosperity, right, in order to have a good life, we need to appease and work with our Ori, which is our own high consciousness, our oversoul. But also when you're working with Ori, you're really working on your character. You're doing a lot of mental work, mind mastery work and things like that. So as we know, this first point, it says clearly that in order to get these blessings, we need to work with Ori and we need to get Ori on board, right? The second point here, y'all, says Ifa says people should appease their legs so that their legs can direct them to the right place. So this is what we need to know about this whole Ori and legs thing. I like to call the legs in this case your center of will or your personal will. So sometimes your Ori, your high consciousness, your oversoul can be at odds, right? Your head can be at odds with your will and your legs. So it's like your head, your Ori, will be encouraging you to go one way. Your personal will, your legs will be taking you in the opposite direction. This can cause missteps, right? Like it's like you're being pulled in two different directions. Your Ori, which knows best, wants you to go in one direction. Your will, right, is pulling you in another direction, or your legs are carrying you in another direction. So what this can lead to is you could be delayed in getting to your blessings, right? Or you could leave a place too soon before your blessings arrive. And it just causes like a series of missteps and mistakes. You're not going in the right directions because there's a fight between your Ori and your legs, or your Ori, your head, your oversoul, and your will, because they're pulling in two different directions. You also, again, have to be mindful of hurting your legs, right? Accidents, hurting your legs or feet. So it's important to be careful this year. Ifa says no one can execute any plan without the leg. So I see that as, again, the personal will. No one can execute any plan. So the Ori gives you a plan, but without your personal will taking you in that direction, it's not going to happen. I will go in that direction, right? You want to go in the same direction that your Ori is calling you in, but a lot of times that's not happening. And this is why a lot of people are not moving forward. So if you're experiencing issues in your life that don't seem to get better no matter what you do, this is going to be really important for you, right? If you've done tons of spiritual work, ebos, initiation, and you're still stuck in a loop of disappointment, this is definitely for you. It's time to get right with your Ori. And as we see, Ifa reveals that it is only Ori that can ensure you receive blessings. Until you get right with your Ori, you will face blockages, obstacles, and repeating patterns of disappointment. So when we see that disconnect between your Ori and your legs, nothing will flow as it's meant to. It just won't. Okay, so let's get into some suggestions about how you can get right with your Ori and some things you can do this year to really support your Ori and your legs working together to carry you towards good fortune, okay? And in my humble opinion, y'all, the best Ori work isn't ritual practices like always just feeding your Ori, right, or cleansing it. It really is going to take some mind mastery, some mental mastery, because a lot of the issues we face are really like mental imprints and patterns that we just keep perpetuating throughout time. So my first suggestion is that you identify and disrupt any harmful patterns that have plagued your life. Okay, so one of the examples I have here is, say there's somebody who deals with doubt and fear, right? And every time they get a message from their Ori, a directive from their Ori, they start to doubt and fear it. This makes them double-minded, right? And it pulls their energy in two different directions. So the Ori has given the directive. That sounds cool. I'm going to go towards it. Oh, but wait, here comes doubt and fear pulling me the other way. When this happens, it makes it difficult to focus and make progress on the goals that your own Ori are trying to really push you towards, right? And it's just a really harmful practice that needs to be worked out. When you work on identifying and disrupting these patterns, right, stopping them, breaking them, what you do is you are supporting the alignment of your Ori with your legs or your will, okay? Because you need them to be together. You need them to work together. And that's what Ifa is pointing to at the very beginning of this Odu Ifa of the year, which means it's very important, right? Another suggestion, y'all, is meditation. Developing a meditative practice is one of the best ways to get right with your Ori. It helps you to form a direct line of communication between you and your Ori, right? Between your consciousness and your highest consciousness. And it also kind of clears the channel so that you'll begin to receive messages through your clear senses, dreams. You'll get signs and symbols and things like that. So if you're someone who doesn't meditate or has a hard time, I would suggest starting with the simple method of focusing on your breath, right? Sitting for 15 minutes a day and focusing on your breath. Another way to get right with your Ori is embracing coolness and clarity. You have to find ways to cool and calm the mind so that you're clear-headed, right? This obviously supports alignment with Ori, right? So if you're clear-headed, if you're cool, and you're maintaining your coolness, this is going to help you get right with your Ori. Some of the ways you can call in this energy is through breathing exercises, nature walks, mantras, right? Chanting, crystals, divination, journaling. These are just some different ways you can really calm and cool your mind. This is why you'll hear some people say Ori Tutu. That means cool head, right? Cool head, Ori Tutu, Ori Tutu. So you can actually, throughout the year, just put your head under some cool running water, and this will bring coolness to you. Sometimes you can sit and meditate and visualize the energy of coolness, falling down over your head, cool water falling down over your head. Because when you walk with a cool head, you attract better energy, okay? You don't want a hot head, you want a cool head, Ori Tutu. Okay, so here is the head wash, leg wash recipe I told you I was going to provide for you. Now again, this is great, right? Having rituals to do is awesome, but if you're not doing the mental work, the mind mastery work, the character work, this is just something you're going to do. It'll be something you're doing, but it won't work as well as it could, okay? All right, so what we're going to do now is this bath is actually going to be used to clear energetic debris from your head and legs so that they can start working together, right? So that they can start moving in the same directions, working in tandem. Now with this herbal recipe, what I wanted to do was create a bath that you could put together easily where it would be easy to find the ingredients, okay? So when I tapped in and tuned in and I asked my own Ori, right, my elevated guides, guardian supports, ancestors to give me the ingredients, this is what they gave me. You're going to use water, of course, because it's a bath, peppermint, sea salt, and lemon. So very easy items to find at a local supermarket, okay? And that's what I wanted for this bath, ease. So what you're going to do is fill up a big bowl with water. Some people use a bucket. You're going to add some sea salt, squeeze, cut and squeeze lemon juice into this water. And then you're going to add mint. If you can't find fresh mint or like dried mint, you can use mint from a tea bag. As long as the only ingredient is mint, peppermint, you're good to go, okay? Make sure it's peppermint. Guys, this bath smells so good. So good, okay? So as you put these ingredients together, I want you to thank the ingredients. Thank the peppermint, thank the sea salt, the lemon, and the water for their support and service, right? Now, as you're putting all of this together, I want you to stick your hand, whichever hand you want, in the bowl or the bucket and stir it clockwise, right? So to the right, you're going to stir it. While you're stirring the bath and the ingredients together, I want you to speak into the water a prayer. And this prayer is asking that your head, right, that your head and your legs, that they would be energetically refreshed, that all energetic debris that has stopped them from working together would be cleared and cleansed as you do this bath, right? And then you're going to state what it is you want to see happen in the coming days, weeks, months. What do you know you need to move towards, right? But you've been having a hard time doing so. You can say that while you're stirring the bath. After you stir it, you're going to pour some of that on your head. So you can do that in a tub, right? Or you can sit in a bathtub and do this too, y'all. It's up to you. You're going to take some of that water and pour it on your head, or some of that bath rather. Pour it on your head. Guys, I had mint in my head for days because I have very thick hair. So that mint was just hiding out. So you're going to put the bath over your head. You're going to, as you're doing that, you're saying a prayer. You're going to save some of that bath and then run it over your legs and your feet. Again, praying for your head and your feet and legs to work in tandem, to work together, okay? After this, you can rinse off, right? So maybe take a shower, rinse off. I would suggest doing this before bed or doing it when you don't have to go back out. After that, you should wrap your head with white cloth. And when you go to sleep, I suggest wearing white or sleeping under white sheets or a blanket, okay? My spirit guides also told me it would be good for those of you who are interested to carry clear quartz after you do that bath. So after that bath, maybe even sleeping with a clear quartz if you feel cold, or walking with one, wearing quartz jewelry if you have it, holding a stone close to you. Now, this is a bath that you can do multiple times throughout the year, right? It doesn't have to be once. But another thing I want to encourage is pay attention to your dreams after you do this bath, right? That night, the following nights. But also, I want you to be mindful of some of the energy that may come up. Some grief that has been stuck in your energy field may come up, okay? So maybe journaling, or if you have a therapist, really discussing what comes up, because I did notice that too. If there's anything lodged, and it could be old grief, something maybe you didn't grieve or you didn't have time to grieve, that has been blocking the communication between your Ori and your will, right? Your personal will, your Ori and your legs. It will be cleared at that time. It may come up for you to face it. I would also write those dreams down, okay? So I don't know if I said that. I know I say you should pay attention to your dreams, but maybe record the dreams as well. Now, another ritual practice you can do throughout the year, right, as like a Ori feeding, is buy like a small bottle of gin and occasionally take like a little shot glass, pour it over your head, say a prayer, and then take some of that gin and rub your legs and your feet with it. This is a way to feed, right, an offering to your Ori, to your legs, okay? And again, you're asking them to carry you in the right directions. If you shave your legs, be careful with that, y'all, okay? I don't know how that would feel. Just be mindful. But yeah, these are my suggestions for how to move through this year in a way where your Ori and your personal will are working together, working to carry you to Ire. Because I know some of you are fed up. You're not seeing the progress that you want to see. You don't understand why. And maybe, just maybe, this is your why. Maybe you're finding out today that it's Ori. You need to get right with your Ori. If I can appeal to your Ori, your Orisha can appeal to your Ori. Egbe, they can all appeal to your Ori and ask for your Ori to allow these blessings to flow. But if you're not right with your Ori, it's not going to work. And that's what you really should focus on this year if things have been stagnant for you, okay? I truly hope that this message has been helpful for you today. For those of you who have been following me for a while, I recently added channel memberships, which are monthly donations you can make to support the channel and support my content. If this is a blessing to you and you want to bless me back, that's one of the ways you can do it. Either way, I hope that this information will really help you to have a breakthrough this year, because it's your time. It's your time to break through. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.